Some leaders leave footprints, others leave libraries. You're tuning into the Authors on Mission podcast, where industry giants become literacy legends. In every episode, we talk with authors who turn their brilliance into books that transform lives. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authors on Mission. Welcome to your authorship experience. Hey everybody, and welcome to another enchanted episode of Authors on Mission, where today we're opening a doorway, not unlike the Indigo Portal in our guest's remarkable new novel. I'm your host, Danielle Hutchinson, Chief Creative Officer here at Authors on Mission, and today we're venturing into the extraordinary mind behind one of this year's most celebrated middle grade fantasies, a book that's not winning awards but changing lives by showing young readers what makes them different might also make them magical. Our guest wrote a fantasy adventure inspired by her own grandchild's battle with a rare seizure disorder, transforming medical challenges into literary triumph. The story of a 12-year-old girl who discovers another world through her seizures has captivated readers, critics, and even caught the attention of major networks like Fox, ABC, and CBS. So please join me in welcoming the Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm, T.L. McCoy. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Of course. I am a huge fan of young adult literature. I love the whole premise behind this. I think this is going to be a great conversation for listeners, authors, and readers alike. So yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting. I think the most important question that we should probably start off with is, of course, what inspired this book. It was, of course, your grandchild and writing about her journey. So I'm wondering how this personal experience shapes not only the story, but you as an author.
Well, originally, I'm a psych nurse, and originally I had taken a class to kind of improve my writing. And as I was writing a suspense story for adults, I came across some research about there not being enough inclusion in children's literature. So I believe that it was 3.4% of children's books contain disabled protagonists. Mm-hmm. And that really disturbed me because I have a grandchild who was diagnosed with what's called Dravet syndrome. It is a rare and sometimes catastrophic seizure disorder that has impacted all of our lives, really. Delilah is my grandchild's name, so the book is really named after Delilah. She is not in middle school. She's younger. She's only 3 years old. But when we received the diagnosis, it was something we came together for as a family to support each other. And it really disturbed me, the thought of her growing up and not having enough books where she could relate to the characters in those books. So then I put my book aside that I had started writing on, and I started writing on Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm for her. And then it's almost become a mission of mine now, so that there will be more on the market. I'm hoping not to just be involved in my book, but maybe open some doorways for other authors who want to write books that have greater representation and inclusion.
That's an incredible and inspiring tale. You're not just focused on your own book, but the genre in particular, opening doors to more inclusion throughout, all different types of literature, including, your own. It's great that you've inspired it. I'm wondering, since this book has come out, have you seen any uprise in inclusive children, or perhaps just sparking the seed?
It hasn't been on the market very long, but it's doing all right. We're pretty happy with it. It's won 3 awards so far, and it did hit 3 different bestseller lists on Amazon. The one that means the most to me probably is that it hit for children's epilepsy health. It even made number 1 on that list. I reached out to some hospitals, and Boston Children's Hospital will have the book available on the epilepsy unit, the kids' epilepsy unit for kids there, which will, that's really part of what I was hoping to do, really get this book in the hands of kids that it will mean something for. But it's not really just for kids with special needs, though I wrote it for that purpose. I also wrote it to be something that like fans of Percy Jackson would like, because it's got a lot of action and adventure, but the main character's powers are rooted in her disability. And that way kids who, don't usually see themselves in books, they can see themselves in this particular book.
And not only are they seeing themselves, but they're seeing themselves in a more empowered way by being the hero of the story, not just somebody who's going through life with that condition. So that's a really cool approach to it.
It's so funny you say that, because I had my grandchild with me this morning, and I've created some promo videos. And at the end of one of the promo videos, Delilah's powers are ignited. It's an animated video. They ignite. And she said, she looks at me, and she's 3 years old, and she said, "I have powers." Oh. And I thought that was the cutest thing ever. And I was like, yes, you do. You really do.
That's adorable. Just like a real life positive review, probably the best positive review you could possibly get.
Yes, absolutely.
So, kind of drawing on that then, the idea that you're making promos for your book, I think that's something that a lot of authors could learn about. A lot of people think they just write the book, put it on the shelf, and that's it. But clearly, you've been advocating for your book even after publication with, going on different talk shows and creating promos. I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about the importance of breathing life into your book after publication like that.
Well, I started my own publishing company called Blue Round Book Group for the purpose of this book, and with the goal to add other books down the road for representation and inclusion. And what's essential, there are so many books out there. A lot of people are self-publishing right now. So you have a lot of books that you are competing with. How do you get your book seen becomes the question. You can't just write it and put it on Amazon. It will not be seen unless you have a huge following already built. So you have to do things like outreach so that people can read the book. And then if they like it, they'll spread the word. Some of the ways that you do that is through podcasts. You can do ads and so forth. I've chosen to do also some videos. I put it out there about a week ago, maybe 9 days ago, and I think it's at 17,000 views right now. So it's picked up a little traction. It's a little animated Pixar style video that we created. So you do have to put a lot of effort into that as a writer. You can't just write. Being an author is no longer just writing. And I say that's the hardest part of this whole process, because I always say I'm the person who likes to be a person behind the scenes, and you can't really get away with that anymore. If you want your book to be successful, you have to be able to spread the word about it, unless you have a group of people who are doing that for you. Now, if you go in the traditional route, the big publishing houses usually have departments that will help in that regard. But if you're going the self-publishing route, or you're going with a small organization, you're going to want to take some efforts, like maybe making some promotional videos, maybe some press releases. Those kind of things will help get you seen.
Definitely. And that's what's all about. You have to be seen in order to make that impact, to spread your message. Otherwise, no one's going to find it. So it's amazing that you're doing that.
I'm so sorry. You can write the best book in the world, but if people don't know it exists, it won't go very far. So you can be the most talented author and just not get your book in the hands of the right people. You have to take those kind of steps to reach the audience that would benefit from your particular book that you're writing.
Definitely, definitely. So diving into the book itself a little bit, I've noticed Delilah's not the only character in the book. She also has a couple companions, a kangaroo and a ladybug. So I'm wondering, as authors, we're always developing characters, making intentional choices behind why we shape them to be the way they are. So why kangaroo and ladybug exactly?
So everything in the book does have meaning. A lot of it is based on my grandchild. So my daughter took her to an event where there were kangaroos, and my grandchild just fell in love with the kangaroos. And when I was creating, it was right at the exact moment that I was writing the chapters for the fantasy world. And I did want there to be hybrids in there, and I wanted there to be some fascinating creatures and kind of events that are unexpected. There's a lot that's kind of unexpected. I think some people have come back with, I did not see that coming, kind of thing. But they liked it. So I wanted there to be some unexpected things in there. So the kangaroos came about because she went to an event and she was holding the kangaroo, and she loved the little baby kangaroo. And I thought, oh, how cute it would be. And then it's also a Christian book. So there's like the Kangaroo Council is kind of somewhat based off a scripture scene from the Bible. Not exactly, of course, but I took inspiration from that. So I kind of wanted to merge themes. The underlying theme is a Christian theme of forgiveness. So as you read through the book, by the time you get to the end, you will see that the underlying theme of the whole entire book is forgiveness.
Definitely. Forgiveness. So why that theme over others? I would have assumed it would be something along the lines of empowerment or strength, but forgiveness.
It was, so all of that is in there. So
Okay.
yeah, all of that is in there. But as I was writing the story, it kind of just unfolded that way. It wasn't, I didn't have it set initially that way where it was in my mind, like I'm going to write this book about forgiveness. I was writing the story, and as I write, I have a process where I go for long walks, or, I do things to kind of imagine. Sometimes I dream what happens in the book. So I let the story unfold the way it wanted to unfold, and it ended up coming out as that. Then I go back and edit and kind of see, like, does this work? I removed whole chapters, changed quite a lot. I think I revised the book at least 30 times.
Wow. Okay. And that's a very serious editing process.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, was this on your own, or did you have a team of people kind of helping you out with the editing process, just out of curiosity?
So it was a mix. So a lot of the editing was on my own, but then I also had two fabulous editors that assisted me. One was a literary agent and writer herself. Her name's Erin Young. And then the other one was the actual editor of The Hunger Games, which we kind of discussed a little bit. And, she works as a freelancer now. So if somebody's interested in getting assistance from her, she can actually be found on Readsy, and that is how we connected. I think she gets a lot of requests because, she's a known editor who has done some extraordinary works. So I think she gets a lot of requests. So I felt very blessed to have her on as one of my editors. And I took basically what both of them said to heart and went through everything and tried to make sure that I created the strongest book that I possibly could. Because before releasing it to the market, I wanted to make sure that it was going to be something that resonated with middle school kids. But what I'm finding is it's not just middle school kids that are saying the book is meaningful to them. I even have some adults saying, if they've experienced hardship, or they've known someone with seizures, or they were bullied, because there's some bullying elements in there, that it's actually impacting them as well.
That's incredible. And it's great to know that you were able to combine the insights from two different editors also. I just have so many questions about the editors too, because of course, I'm a huge fan of the Hunger Games. So I'm wondering, did you find a difference between working with somebody so high profile versus just another editor who's amazing, but not as well known? Was there any differences in quality or, rapport? I'm just wondering.
I wouldn't say there was differences in quality. I think they approached the editing differently. They both kind of gave me the same thing with an editorial letter, and then they went through the manuscript and made notes. So they both did those kind of things, but their focus was different, I would say. And then their thoughts were different. So you could have a bunch of writers in the room and they'll all be great writers, but they'll think differently. So it was nice to see different perspectives, to see which one that I would land on that would be the final result. Some things they agreed on wholeheartedly, like they were on the same page wholeheartedly on, and some things they didn't. I will say that for the editor of The Hunger Games, I think she took a very, very positive approach to doing the editing. Her feedback was always very positive, and she seems like a very family-oriented person. So I think that if anyone ever chooses to work with her, they will find that that's the kind of person she is.
Okay, yeah, I love that insight there, because that's something that a lot of authors could, benefit from when they're selecting their own editors. Do you select somebody, high profile or not? I guess at the end of the day, it's really about finding somebody who matches your vision and understands the goal that you're trying to achieve with the book. So,
yeah, I agree. And, editing process is very difficult for authors because you pour your heart and soul into a book, and then you're asking somebody to kind of tear it apart. And I actually was asking that. I said, be brutal, give me your worst kind of thing, because I really wanted it to be at a level that matched, what the traditional houses did. And I wanted to make the book as strong as possible. And I will say there were things in there that I didn't pick up as a writer because they were in my mind, but I maybe did not make them as clear. So they helped point out, like, okay, right here, we see what you're saying, but it might not be as clear to a reader. So most of the notes were more like, add a little bit of visual here, add a little bit of visual there kind of thing. A lot of the notes were more addition because I didn't, maybe in my mind, it was built up, but maybe it wasn't that way on the page. So it helped me see where I had those gaps that really helped strengthen the book.
Definitely, and it's clear that you were able to add in such details later on. I mean, when I was flipping through it, you had descriptions like, crystal white sands, moonstone towers, cheeky pies. So it's clear that you added those in, and it really was a tremendous improvement, I can see.
Well, it's funny you said that because that was in the original.
Oh, I must have. I don't know where I got that from then. Been the other book that I was looking at, who knows, but either way, really good descriptions. So, my next question to you is, you have this book out, and clearly you are advocating for, all this movement now that it's out. I'm sure you have other books in mind to come. I'm wondering what we can be excited about moving forward coming from you. I'm sure this is a series concept.
It is. So the book is left open so that there will be another book. Because I started the Round Book Group for this project, and marketing is very time consuming, it will take a little while before another book comes out. I have written around 15,000 words for it, and middle grade books are smaller than the average books. That is by nature of how the market is right now and how children tend to want to watch television and use the computers. That means that you have to make the book smaller, usually, at least initially, because it's more appealing to them, that it's not too long. You don't want to write a middle grade book that's too long. Usually those don't do as well. So you want to write it to be just around the right kind of length. And so 15,000 words, we're talking, I'll probably do around 55,000 words for the next book. So we're on the way there.
Got it. It's a big process, I'm sure, getting to that word count. But at the end of the day, it's more about the content. So I'm sure that's also what you're focusing on, making sure the story gets told, balancing the fantasy elements and the serious topics, the chronic illnesses. So it's a lot to squeeze into that word count when you really think about it.
That was actually one of the most hardest things for me as the writer, because I wanted it to take longer for the main character to end up in the fantasy world and build up the relationships before that happened. But as I went through, I also spoke with some best-selling kids authors too when I was writing the book. And as I was discussing my process, they said, pretty much books that sold in the past that have done that and that have done really well, they probably wouldn't get picked up today. And that's because the market has changed. They want things a little bit faster. So things need to move faster today. So I had to change the way I was writing really to match what people are willing to read right now. Yet keep all the elements that you're saying, because you want to make sure you're developing these characters. You want to make sure that the scenes are well described and fleshed out. You want to give the whole picture, but you don't want to do it in such a long period of time that, if you think about a middle school kid, if you give them two books and a book looks like it's War and Peace and you give them a thin book, which one do you think they're going to pick?
Right.
You have to be realistic as to what kids that age are going to want to read. So you have to do all of those things in a small amount of space.
Right. And it's interesting because I understand what you mean. You want to build the world elements, build the relationships, but you need something to hook them. You need, especially with kids, they get distracted in an instant. So you need to really hook them from the beginning. Do you have a tip for how to do this in practice? Perhaps any authors listening today might be interested to know how exactly do you hook the children right from the beginning?
So that took some tries. That I think it happened over the editing process. So initially I felt like I had a good story in mind. I knew it was going to be a unique story. So I felt like I already had that kind of hook in my mind, and it was just a matter of sitting down and writing it in a way that kids will be able to feel connected to the characters pretty quickly. Because I think if they're not connected to the character or interested in the story within the first 5 to 10 pages, they won't continue reading. And so then even if the book ends on a high note and is a great book, if you can't get them to read past the first 5 to 10 pages, then you have failed in your goal, kind of thing. So you do have to really think about, how are you going to really grab somebody's attention right off the bat? Like right off the bat, give them something to make them want to turn to the next page. And I really thought about that for a long time as I was going through the editing process, and I changed a few things in that early, especially in chapters 1 and 2, to really kind of make them want to turn to the next page, give them something to look forward to.
Definitely. I like that a lot. And those are some really actionable tips that a lot of our authors could implement even right after this conversation. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Do you happen to have a copy of the book with you right now today?
I actually do. Hold on one second.
Sure.
This is it right here. It's called Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm. It's available on Amazon right now.
Just hold it up a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
It's funny because I can only see myself in the corner up there. But can you see it now?
I can see it beautifully now. Yes, it's
perfect.
A very cute cover.
Oh, thank you. It was done by, so I also contracted with the illustrator on Reedsy too. You can get support for marketing, you could get support for editing, and you could get support for illustrations all on Reedsy if that's what you're looking for. There are other sites that also do that kind of thing. But, you know, in the end, you have to decide, you know, which way you're going to go as a writer, if you're going to go the traditional route, if you're going to go the self-publishing route. And I will say that if you end up going with a small agency or you end up self-publishing, just make sure you take the time to have somebody other than yourself read through the book, or your friends or family, because friends and family tend to be too nice, to really give you honest feedback so that you can, you know, make it as strong as you possibly can, and then take some time with the marketing. It doesn't have to be expensive marketing. It could be email outreaches, go talk to your local librarians, your media specialists at school. If you're writing a kid's book, you know, think about where your audience is. If it's adult population, what kind of adult population? Are there organizations or Facebook groups that you might want to contact about your book? There are ways that you can get your word out there if you've written something.
That's incredible. First off, you know, you're holding up the book cover the whole time, and you went on this amazing list of tips right there for everything, and your arm must have hurt after a minute. But no, all very, very important stuff. This whole conversation has been very insightful for our listeners. You're really on the ball with all of this. You'd think you've been doing this all your life.
No, this has been a very exciting journey, and it's been a big learning curve, actually. It's been a lot of struggles because publishing is a very hard world. Walls get put up all the time. I've gotten told no quite a lot. So then I just keep trying again. We've been fortunate where we have some pretty popular Instagrammers that have just released the story on the book, and then more are going to soon. And so we're very excited about the reach. And then of course the promo videos, they're on YouTube. If you type in Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm, you'll be able to see that. And there will be a new one coming out that a child, it's an animated video, but a child's actually voicing the voiceover along with her dad. So it's a very cute, family-oriented, Pixar-style video for the book. The whole goal, though, is we really want to put the book in the hands of children so that they can enjoy it and promote empowerment and inclusion through it, and to encourage other writers to also write books that might be more representative and inclusive in nature.
I like that a lot. You know, it's important that you have all those elements, and just incredible. So, Tammy, if we want to get in touch with you and learn more and, you know, stay up to date with the new books coming out, where can we best find you? How do we get connected?
Sure. I actually have a website, www.blueroundbookgroup.com. And if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see that there are links there for the social media. But I'm going to be totally honest with you. only started being on social media right before I released this book. So my following is small right now, but we're working to grow it. I was one of those people who was, what do they call it, off the grid, I guess. I was not on social media. That was not something I did. I'm a psych nurse, so it was something that I felt like I didn't need to have to do. So right now we are building Blue Round Book Group's social media outreach, and I think it's going pretty well. We're very happy with the progress that we're making. I'm fortunate where I'm married to a YouTuber, so he actually does horror movie reviews, if you can believe that. His name is Drum Dums, and so he's been very supportive, and so some of his YouTube friends have also been very supportive. So they're helping get the word out, and that can help too when you're the connections that you make as a writer. When even if you're not in the same genre, sometimes it will be a family member who has experienced something that they can relate to in a story that you're trying to tell.
Definitely. You always have to have that team by your side too. I love that. So yeah, we'll put the links to those, all of those sites on our description box of this podcast today. So you can go ahead and click on over if you're listening and you're interested in learning more about T.L. McCoy's journey and works and all her mission altogether. So as we begin to wrap up today, I'm wondering if you have any last bits of advice to share with our audience.
First, I wanted to say thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I would say that if you're a writer out there and you feel like there's no opportunities for you, I think that there are opportunities. I will say that it has been a bit of a struggle as a writer, at least for me. But I think that everyone has a good story inside them, and it's just a matter of getting it down on paper and then having it edited. I would recommend professional editing, but if you can't afford that, then there are groups out there that help each other, and maybe ask other authors that, go to those author groups and maybe see if somebody would be willing to check out your story that way. That can give you some very good advice. If you've written something that's inclusive or representative in nature, I would definitely like to be a part of your journey as a member of Blue Round Book Group or the owner of Blue Round Book Group. Probably not right away because we're in the middle of a launch, but that would be something that we could talk about down the road if you want to hit me up on my website.
Definitely. We'll stay in touch. I mean, that's what podcasting is all about, creating those connections and seeing what comes from it. So thanks.
Thank you.
So yeah, and to all of our listeners, if you've been touched by today's conversation, I encourage you also to pick up a copy of Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm. It's available, and the links are in the description box, so go ahead and check it out. And remember, like Delilah discovering her true strength, your unique story might be the very thing the world needs most. Until our next literary adventure, this is Danielle Hutchinson from Authors on Mission, where every week we prove that the most powerful magic is the courage to share your truth on the page. So thank you so much for listening, and may you find your own indigo door into new possibilities also. We'll see you next time. This is Danielle Hutchinson reminding you that somewhere, someone needs the book that only you can write. Visit authorsonmission.com to start your legacy. Until next time, keep leading, keep inspiring, and keep thinking in chapters. Have a great day.